but I'm a playwright. I'm currently rehearsing my ninth Broadway show, in addition to the show that Julie so kindly referred to. So I think my business, in some sense, is the power of stories and what narrative does and how it influences our place in this country. Some of us who are older will remember when there was a stereotype of Asians that we were poor, uneducated, menial laborers. That has changed, obviously. The new stereotype is that we're too educated, we have too much money, which is also a stereotype. But one thing that has not changed is this notion of Asians as being perpetual foreigners. One's ancestors can have come to this country 4 or 5 generations ago, and people still go, oh, you speak really good English. And those stereotype portrayals make it easier to hate us, to attack us, and even to kill us. And I experienced this firsthand. A few years ago, I was attacked on my block by an unknown assailant who stabbed me in the neck, severed my vertebral artery. I lost about 1/3 of my blood. And one of our state senators here in New York, John Liu, called it a hate crime and called a press conference to denounce hate crimes. And as we're going into this election, I think particularly for Chinese Americans, for AANHPI, we already know who Donald Trump is, that he perpetuates the worst and the most dangerous narratives about Chinese Americans and AANHPIs, endangering our safety and our future. We all know what happened during the pandemic. We all know how he fanned those flames. We've talked about that already. But we may also think, we may have relatives or friends who are Asian Americans who think, oh, you know, if we're on his side, then he won't attack us. And all we have to do is look to the example of Elaine Chao, which has been referenced once before, but I want to talk about, like, specifically, she was his transportation secretary, and then he racially slurred her by calling her Coco Chow, by calling her Mitch McConnell's China-loving wife, by saying she was a sellout to China. And so clearly, we know who this man is. He's transactional. He will turn on us with the smallest excuse. We saw it during the pandemic, and we don't know what's going to happen with US-China relations in the next 4 years, but certainly they're at a perilous state. And therefore, we've seen throughout American history, whether it is through the incarceration of Japanese Americans or the murder of Vincent Chin, we've seen that whenever there is tension between the US and any Asian country, AANHPIs get hurt. We get caught in the middle. So the former president is transactional. He will scapegoat us, and he will be the one who sells us out, as opposed to Kamala Harris, who has a background like many of us. Like me, she's a child of immigrants. Like me, she's a first-gen kid. She worked hard in school and life to achieve the American dream. And we know that she will therefore uplift immigrants and promote unity in this country because she understands the importance of keeping families together. She understands immigration policy. She understands that immigrants are one of the great strengths of this country. And like many of our families, she came to America for democracy. And if the ongoing stereotype about Asian Americans is that we are perpetual foreigners, not only does she know we are not perpetual foreigners, we are true Americans, but electing her as president will demonstrate to the world that we are the true Americans and reinforce the line from the musical Hamilton, immigrants, we get the job done. So let's tell that story, and let's elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, President and Vice President of the United States. And now it's my great honor to introduce Nicole Lee, the alderman from the city of Chicago.